So I just posted the video on the 21 Bronco where the customer's driving it in 4 auto all the time, and I got some feedback for some people that really didn't like what I was saying. It kind of seemed like they were a little butthurt about it, saying stuff like, oh, you should be able to drive it in 4 auto all the time. And I think a lot of people just don't understand exactly what 4 auto is. I have PTS pulled up right now, right here. In this mode, the transfer case system is active all the time and requires no input from the driver. The all-wheel drive control system continuously monitors vehicle conditions and automatically applies torque to the front drive shaft. This is done through the use of a multi-plate clutch inside the transfer case that modulates torque delivery to a chain drive that is connected to the front drive shaft. If any wheel slip is detected on the vehicle, or if the vehicle is in a handling event, the all-wheel drive control system commands the transfer case actuator to apply torque to a ball ramp cam system, which then amplifies an axial force into the clutch pack. Imagine being in 4A in a parking lot, really tight maneuvers. You have big giant tires on that are knobby, not very good traction overall on dry pavement, and constantly slipping every time you go to take off. In the Bronco, you get those big old knobby tires on it, and you can hear when that 2.7 liter EcoBoost kicks in with just a quarter throttle, maybe a little bit more. That thing makes enough power to where you'll start to feel the tires break loose from underneath you. And even in 4A, when you're going to pull forward in that thing, you'll start to hear all 4 tires start to come loose from the ground because it makes some really good power. So you're in a tight turning event with tires that are not very sticky. They don't make a ton of ground contact because they're an off-road style tire. And then all of a sudden one wheel starts to slip, or 2 wheels start to slip, and you got it in 4A. The system is going to start engaging and operating in a manner that doesn't need to be operated on dry pavement on a sunny day, no rain, no snow, no mud, right? So when I'm reading through these different modes, a lot of people are like, oh, you should be able to put it in 4A all the time. Nothing should be going on. But clearly when you read the criteria, it tells you that it can operate at any time in 4A, and it does not need your input to do so. Does it really think that you should be driving around in 4A? No. If you're not in sand, you're not in mud, you're not in snow, you're not on ice, you're not on slippery surfaces, that's clearly the description of telling you if you're not in those conditions, you should not be running in that mode, without actually telling you that you should not be running in that mode. Now, when you read the disclaimer above, it says the transfer case is equipped with an electronically controlled high torque capacity clutch, which is located inside the case. The clutch is then used to synchronize the speed of the front driveline with the rear driveline during 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive high or 4-wheel drive auto 4A shifts. The clutch also provides torque to the front driveline in 4-wheel drive modes. The transfer case is lubricated by a positive displacement fluid pump that channels fluid through holes in the rear output shaft. It's a very simple system, but it's not a flawless system. This is not a full-blown regular all-wheel drive system like most people would see on an Evo or a Subaru or something like that, whatever people were giving recommendation of. Let's look at a few sites to see what they recommend, 4-wheel drive sites. We're going to be looking at 4wheeldrivetrends.com. Should I drive in 4-wheel drive auto or 2-wheel drive? Let's find out. Let's see what they have to say, since they took the time to publish. I've been driving for a little over a year now, and I'm finally getting the hang of all these new terms like 4-wheel drive auto and 2-wheel drive. Should I be driving in 4-wheel drive auto or 2-wheel drive? What's the difference? It can get pretty confusing, so this blog post will break down what 2 different drive modes are. Should I drive in 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive? Drive in 2-wheel drive if you are in the city streets or dry pavement when you have complete control of the vehicle. Drive in 4-wheel drive auto on dirt roads or in sand and snowstorms. 4-wheel drive auto is best used when you are likely to need an extra bit of power to get you through rugged terrain. What's the difference between 4-wheel drive auto and 2-wheel drive? Well, driving in 4-wheel drive auto means automatically switching between 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive whenever the vehicle determines it needs to. Not you, the vehicle. The vehicle will automatically switch between four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive depending on the road conditions. For example, if you're driving on asphalt, but you hit a patch of gravel, your car will automatically switch into four-wheel drive, allowing additional traction. The same goes for mud or snow. You can continue driving safely on these surfaces by leaving your car in four-wheel drive auto. Driving in two-wheel drive means that you are locked into the two-wheel drive of the vehicle, which has almost no grip whatsoever. If you are trying to drive up a snowy mountain, you'll need to have your car switched into four-wheel drive auto. Otherwise, you'll find it challenging to get up the hill. Some say that driving it in four-wheel drive auto is better for your vehicle because it allows you to have complete control over how much traction you want from your vehicle. However, going in two-wheel drive is perfectly fine if you know when and where not to drive it. Sunny, dry day, two-wheel drive, that's the mode you should be in. When to use four-wheel drive auto. If you're driving on a road in dry, wet, snowy, or icy conditions, your car will automatically switch to four-wheel drive when it detects loss of traction. But it's not necessary and can engage when you don't want it to engage. And little things like tight cornering with not desirable tires for traction can cause the four-wheel drive to engage when you don't want it to engage, and can possibly cause damage to the internal components if done long term. When in four-wheel drive auto mode, keep your foot on the gas pedal and try not to turn or brake too hard. Let your vehicle do the work for you. That reference means that you should be in four-wheel drive auto when there's a condition met for it to take control, and put it in four-wheel drive when the situation is necessary. But on a clear, sunny day, there's no need for it. When in two-wheel drive, you're limited to only using the rear axle. It disengages the front axle. This is ideal for driving on the street because the rear axle isn't pushing the front axle. Two-wheel drive is also great for saving fuel, which is why it's advisable to use two-wheel drive on your daily commute during desirable conditions, not for auto. So contrary to a lot of your misconceptions, a lot of people said, well, you should be able to run in 4 auto all the time. Ideally. But it's not ideal. That's the thing. No matter where you go, every place is going to tell you, why even put it in 4-wheel drive if you can function in 2-wheel drive? If there's no need for it and there's no conditions to be met, put the vehicle in 2-wheel drive. It's common sense. There's no reason to have this discussion. Bottom line. I'm looking on a GM forum right now, and this MN Dave C posted July 2nd, 2014. Perfect explanation for this. They say, does anybody else drive in 4-wheel auto all the time? This guy says, nope, I put mine in 2-wheel drive only, but I'll probably use the auto in the winter. My old Explorer had an auto and it was like having all-wheel drive, and it worked great. Perfect answer. If you don't need it, don't turn it on. Bottom line. It eliminates any kind of problem that may pop up. There's no reason to be in 4 auto. There's another gentleman right here that gets it. 01 LS1. I would not drive around like that unless it was mandatory for traction to stay on the road with ice, snow. Would think, not a mechanic, that it would add stress to the transfer case versus 2-wheel drive and additional to wear on the tires and when turning dry on pavement. Y'all be blessed. I don't need to say anymore.